So some weekends the message is crystal clear. Here it is, crystal clear. We are being told to get off our duffs and start being joyful. That's the message. Very clear. Zephaniah says, shout for joy. The Psalm says, cry out with joy and gladness. St. Paul says, rejoice in the Lord always. And he thinks it's so nice, he says it twice. Again, I say, rejoice. There's only one problem. We can't do it. No one can make themselves joyful. We don't have the power to do that. We don't know how. Advertising tells us that there's a way, and they hit us relentlessly with those images. Oh, you want to be joyful? All you need is this diamond. You want to be joyful? Try this new taco. It's delicious. You want to be joyful? Get a deal on a car that is huge. Right? But all of us have had the experience of getting what we wanted. We get those things, and we're still not joyful. And all of us know people who are very rich or very good looking, many of our celebrities, who are not happy at all. In fact, some of them are the most miserable people we know. Recently, some friends of mine found a new plaque at a craft fair. They put it up in their vestibule. And when I saw it, it stopped me in my tracks. It says, someone else is happy with less than what you have. Someone else is happy with less than what you have. We can't make ourselves feel joy. So then, the gospel presents us with the issue. The crowd says to John, what do we do? What are we supposed to do? And John says, that's the right question. Now we're talking. Good. Now we've got something to work with. You know what you should do, he says? You should share your food. You should share your extra clothing. And you should share your money. You want to be joyful? Share those things and see what happens. And John reveals to us in this gospel a spiritual law that is always and everywhere true, but is very hidden from us. The law is that joy can't be manufactured. It is always a byproduct of something else. Joy is not the thing you get. You can't manufacture it, you can't get it. It's a byproduct of doing something else. Just like you can't have honey unless first you have bees, you can't have joy unless first you serve others. It is the requirement. Joy comes from only that place. If we want to be joyful, we have to uplift other people. And it's a spiritual law. We can't transcend it. It is always and everywhere true. Mother Teresa described it perfectly. She said, it's a cold world out there. And the more you know people's problems, the more you know what a cold world it can be. She said, but if we have the courage to go out into the cold world, God gives us a coat to wear. It's the coat of joy. And it is enough. It is warm enough to protect us no matter how cold the world is, no matter how bad it gets. If we have the courage to go into the cold world, we're going to get a coat of joy. And we know this is true. Because if I asked you right now to close your eyes and think of the most joyful person you know, to think of who is the most joyful person you can think of, that person is probably also the most generous person you can think of. Those two things always go together. Recently, we lost a very important member of our community, and probably almost everyone here knows her, whether you think you do or not. Mary Tiberia died on Thanksgiving Day, member of the church her whole life. You may think, I'm not sure if I know who that is. But actually, if you went to the Quarry restaurant for years, you probably experienced her. She was the waitress who used to bring over, when you get your menu, a little plate of cheese and crackers or a little plate of vegetables and dip. And she'd say, it's not good to look at a menu that hungry. Take your time, eat some. I brought this for you. Now, what's funny is if anybody was paying attention, she was getting it off the salad bar. But it was a little act of kindness. It was a little act of kindness. And she didn't stop there. I was recently talking to a family that told me that years ago, they had a neighbor who lost a 16-year-old son in a motorcycle accident. Terrible grief. And the neighbors were devastated, but they were too afraid to go over to the house because they didn't know what to say. But finally, after a couple of days, they got the courage to go over and comfort that family. And when they rang the doorbell, Mary answered the door. It turns out that she showed up at their house with a mop bucket and a broom and a vacuum cleaner and said, don't say anything. I'm just going to clean your house. If there's anything special you need done, let me know, and then I'll leave. I'm just here to clean your house. She was kind, incredibly kind. And nobody can think of a more joyful person in this whole town. Because when you are kind to others, when you serve them, God gives you a coat of joy to wear. So our work this week is just very clear to us. We have to try to start a contest, and we need to outdo each other in kindness. Everyone's got to join the competition. We've got to try to outdo each other. And what's great is, everyone's going to think we're so nice, they won't realize our actual motivation is greedy. Because we want the most joy. Whoever is the most generous wins. You get the most joy. Maybe a simple way to do this is to think, how can I, in every encounter I have this week, at the grocery store, at CVS, wherever I am, how can I make the people I meet smile? How could I just put a smile on their face? I visited a man in a hospital once who was just a great guy named George, but he was very sick. He was so sick, in fact, that he wasn't sure he was going to leave the hospital, and so while he was there, he wrote his obituary. But when I went to visit him, as sick as he was, he never wanted to talk about himself. He said, you know what, that nurse that just was in here, she's worked 3 doubles this week. Can you imagine how tired she must be? Pray for her, Father. He was worried about whatever was going on in the lives of the people that were cleaning his hospital room. He was incredible. And his wife quietly said to me, do you know what he wrote in his obituary? She said, in the place where people often write, in lieu of flowers, they might say, donate to St. Patrick's or St. Mary's. He wrote, in lieu of flowers, go out and make someone laugh. Isn't that perfect? We've got to try to outdo each other in kindness. And you know, everything we do puts another layer of down in our coat. We get more lining. St. Paul says today, right after he says, rejoice in the Lord always, again I say it, rejoice, his next line is, your kindness should be known to all. Because those two things go together. It's a law. The way we get joy is by being kind to others. So here's our work. Let's try to out-Mary Tiberia. Let's try to out-George Seeger in the hospital. Let's see how kind we can be. And whoever does the best, the winner, gets the best prize of all, the most joy.